Okay, so now it's the next day. It's 8 o'clock in the morning. I've been up since 5:30 this morning. When you work really, really hard all the time, and you're behind on almost everything, if not everything at some point or another, your hours of operation don't run on a regular time schedule. They just don't. It has been like that for me for years, right? Back in the day, in the good old days, there was, like, I'm talking years ago, Tisha. I mean, years ago, people. You know, Uncle John would be getting up at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning because he was an early bird, right? He likes to get up at that time in the morning, and I'd be just going to sleep. As I'm going to sleep, he's getting up. He did the morning shift, I did the night shift. So my time clock naturally is kind of in that zone, especially when I'm doing lots of things. So anyway, it's 8 o'clock in the morning. I'm prepared for the day. I obviously created this work for myself, right? So I have to follow through on it. So the method of attack for today is going to be, I'm going to start with the juicing first. I did say that last night. And with the cucumber pulp. Hold on a minute. With the cucumber pulp, I'm going to do two things with it. I am going to... No, I'm not rushing, people. You don't watch my videos because they're boring. Don't waste your time, serious. Okay? Because I got a long day ahead of me. And I got all day to prepare for today. My son wants to make apple pies. He spotted the apples. So he asked me if I'd help him with that, because I'm the one that peels them. He's the one that makes the dough. So he can make the pie pan shells with the dough downstairs, and I'll peel them, get them ready, and then he can take the bowl down and he can fill them up and do whatever he wants. Right? So 2 to 3 apple pies today. I told him I don't need all the apples for the cucumber juice, right? So I don't mind. And now that I know that raccoons like apples, I'm going to be shopping for discounted apples more regularly so that I can give it to them for nutrition. Especially throughout the winter to help keep them warm. Right? So every time I go apple buying now, and I know where to get normally discounted apples quite regularly. It's just my son will have to take me out because I don't have a car. So he likes apple pies, so he can take me out to go buy apples for apple pies, and I can buy apples, extra apples for the raccoons or whatever else I use them for. Normally, I'm not a juicer. I don't myself personally like to drink my food like that, people. And over the years, like when my kids were younger, you know, juicing, that's nutritional, the fad, whatever it was. You have to, like, really have a system, a real system for providing regular large glasses of juice, 1 cup and up at least, right from the machines themselves. And when you're getting into large numbers of children, 5 children, 2 adults, kids coming by, visiting their friends, whatever it is, right? You know, you can go through a lot of vegetables. And even though it doesn't look like I spent a lot of money on vegetables in this situation, when you're juicing on a regular basis, you go through a lot of vegetables. And vegetables are actually expensive. And they're getting more and more and more expensive, right? So I don't know why, but they are. Because you would think vegetables wouldn't be as expensive as meat. Not to say that meat isn't going up, because it is. So anyway, what I'm trying to say is that's not my expertise. I don't really know anything about juicing. I have books around the house. The only reason I've been starting to juice more is because of Amari's special needs, right? And honestly, I haven't been giving him as much juice as I was before. Doctor said less juice, more fat. Now that I'm giving him more fat, I'm finding that I'm giving him less juice. And I'm telling Tisha, you know, we need to get a piece of paper where it's all kind of like, you know, we check these things off, because, you know, there's things that you have to kind of do. You have to make that commitment for him, people. Right? So juice is I have to give him more juice. And if I'm going to give him that juice, I want it to be fresh carrot juice with the cucumber. And there's really no nutritional value with the cucumber other than it provides hydration, right? Because he doesn't drink on his own. He'll go to the tap, drink water when he wants it. You know, you kind of have to schedule it in so that you know that he's got that water in his body for that hydration. And of course I try and make it tasty, right? So juicing, this is how many cucumbers. This is the carrots that were in Auntie Shemai's fridge, so these ones are nice and fresh and probably really, really sweet. That's why I brought them up, because the ones in the dollar bag, like all this, was $1. So obviously I'm going to juice this one whole bag, because I've got another bag, right, which I'll just, either it will go to the rabbit. I don't know if raccoons eat carrots. I can leave one carrot out there tonight with their dog food to see if maybe they eat carrots, because maybe they do, right? They're hungry. It's wintertime. They have no food, people. Nobody feeds them. They brought in these garbage cans where they can't get into them, and once they did that, they took away their food source, because there's not a lot of food in the community in terms of just like natural. The nut trees are being cut down. They don't have the nut trees anymore. You know, they're disappearing, right? And they locked up all the garbage cans, right? Very few people feed them, right? Because they see them as a pest. They don't like them. It's really hard for a city raccoon to survive. So tonight, from the other bag, I'll throw out a couple carrots to see if they eat it. Because if they do, I can give them a couple carrots, a couple of apples every now and then. And when I'm out and about shopping for my family, in this situation, I'll just grab an extra, like from this point forward, anytime I go shopping and I find discounted apples, I'm buying discounted apples. A couple of 2-3 bags just for the raccoons. That's all. And maybe the same for carrots. So anyway, I'm going to juice this today with that. Okay? All of them. All of them. Because I've got other carrots, so I'm not too worried about it. And then with the pulp, I'm either going to just bag it up into the little baggies. I'm either going to bag them up into the little baggies depending on how much I have. And then you freeze them. And then when you want to make soup for yourself, you just take it out, put it into your pot, and you continue to make your soup. As I've already mentioned, that I did that with the old 2011, what is it called? Shredded carrots that I dehydrated, which are not in Rubbermaid bins. Rubbermaid bins are the big blue bins that you put crafts and fabric and those kind of things. That's Rubbermaid. You can't store food in a Rubbermaid bin unless, of course, it's already pre-packaged, right, in terms for long storage, like cans or whatever, and, you know, and you just stack them up and you put the lid on and you put it away, and if a disaster happens, you have it. But outside of that, this is the old Tupperware. That's what I meant to say. The old Tupperware. Hard for me to see, people. I don't know if you can see that. I can't really see. There you go. What happened? Yeah, light went out. Didn't like that. So anyway, you've seen that. So these are the old Tupperware, the old granny ones back in the day when my mother was alive and I was just a teenager. And these were like the top of the line and everybody wanted them because they're well made. And trust me, they are well made because I'm, 56 years old. And I remember my mom coming home with these things after she had a Tupperware party. And boy, oh boy, you know, she really liked them. And obviously I like them too, because if I go into a thrift store and I actually find them, I buy them because I know how well these are made. I mean, like, these things are like 50 years old, people, if not older. Okay, so this one here is browning for whatever reason. Now, because it's browned, I don't know if you can see that, Because what happens here is, with the different lights, for me, my eyes are like tweaking in terms of they're not adjusting to the light. But because these are old, now in this situation, I don't think I'd use these ones. Okay, what does it say? Oh, this is zucchini. That's why it looks like that, people. So these are perfectly fine. That's zucchini. These are perfectly fine. Which maybe I'll start in a small pot as a tester by itself, just to be double sure. But these, if you notice, the container is half empty. These are my shredded carrots. Do you see? 2011. These are really, really, really good. Do you see why I got confused? I thought that was carrots, the other one, but they were zucchini. That's why they were a different color. So I'm going to use some of these today when I make what is it called? Cucumber soup. Because I'm never done this before, people. I don't freeze cucumbers, but I am now. Because, you know, I want it as a base simply because, I mean, I could have bought more, but because I didn't know what I was doing with the cucumbers, you know, I didn't want to bring home all these cucumbers and then have them go to waste on me until I knew what I was doing, right? So I thought, well, just don't be afraid, try it out, you know, juice the cucumbers, throw in a couple of apples, you know, if when in doubt, you've got books around here to give you kind of like generic little recipes to combine vegetables together to get whatever juice you want, right? It's already been determined that I'm going to be pasteurizing the carrots simply because it's a root vegetable. And I just think, you know, even though Amari doesn't have an autoimmune system, myself personally, I would just feel more comfortable if I quickly just brought him up to that 190, held it there for a minute. No more than a minute. You don't have to go 5 minutes, but if you do, it's fine. And then turn it down, and then I'm going to take that carrot juice and either, you know, combine it. I'm not sure how. I may make different types of juice today. The point is I'm going to make the juices, freeze them, and then take the pulps and continue to add on to this pot that I'm cooking up with these bones from yesterday. And I'm going to make soups that I'm going to freeze, right? And then anything I don't use, I'm going to bag, and I'm going to freeze, and I am going to try to freeze just the pulp of the cucumber as is, because you can freeze cucumbers. And then as I'm cooking for Amari, like maybe I'll try them in a, what is it called, ice tray dish first. I'll make, you know, one or two ice tray dishes of that cucumber pulp, freeze them, and then after put them in a bag, right? And then as I'm working with Amari, with his food, I can take out the cucumber ice block and I can put it either into the food as it's cooking, or I can just let it unthaw and let it be kind of like chilled, I guess you can say, and have it as a little side dish to his main dish, whatever his main dish is. And this is what I'm going to be doing. So, how much are these? They're $2 each. So 2, that was there, 4, 6, 8. And I could have bought 8 more if I wanted to. Well, like 8 bags. But I only settled for 4 bags because I didn't know what I was doing. But this right here cost me $8. Just that by itself. So I thought that would be a good start to kind of, well, you know, build on your skills with, what do you call that? Juicing, for one thing. And then, you know, if it freezes well, and I can incorporate it into Amari's diet more regularly so that it gives him that fiber through his digestive system, right? Because I have to keep that in mind too, people. You know, constipation, and because he doesn't move. He doesn't have that ability to do those things. So it's not just about the food being digested in the system, it's how it's passed through the system as well. And the chewing part of it, right? So I'm going to start with that, and then as I go along, see now, here's another little bag. As I go along, I'm going to open up my bags and I'll prepare them, you'll see. So here we got 3 nice potatoes, a beautiful, beautiful orange pepper. I personally, myself, don't like peppers. Like, myself personally, I don't really like yellow peppers or orange peppers. I just don't know why, but I prefer either green or red. But in this situation, I can just simply juice it with the yellow one that I have and just add it into one of these things that I'm doing here. So I will separate everything. How much was this bag? $1.50. That's a lot of food for $1.50 when it comes to fresh vegetables, people. My son could eat that in one sitting, okay? Right? Andre could wolf down 2 potatoes on his own if he wanted to. Then he'd come back and ask for more. So, and he's just getting up there, right, in terms of growing. So, that's what I'm going to do. So let me start with that. Hold on. Okay, so now I'm back. Basically what's happening here is I am I boiled water. Okay, I just took a little pot. You can see it's half full. I'm going to turn off the water now. This is how you do it. There's a 1 cup measuring. Okay, now this, remember, it's in a Tupperware bin. The old school in the 60s. Well, yeah, 60s, 70s, 80s. It's still kicking around, people. Still holding its lid. So anyway, this is zucchini. I thought it was carrot, but it's not. Now keep in mind, people, when you dehydrate food, the difference between dehydrating, canning, and what is it called? Freezing, where the nutrients mostly get saved in terms of the nutritional value of the food, when you reheat it up or recook it or whatever you're going to do with it. In this case, I'm going to cook it. I've never recooked this, people. I just dehydrated it. Okay? And we can thank the American preppers for encouraging me to do this, because like I said, it works. These carrots are perfectly fine. I don't know if you can see that. They work really good in soups when you want to make a cream carrot soup. So much so that Tisha loved it. And if Tisha loves it, what does that tell you? Because Tisha tends to be a bit picky. Is that when you dehydrate, more than 85% of the nutritional value in the food itself is retained, compared to if you were to cook it and freeze it raw, whatever, or canning. All the other ways of processing food and storing it for any length of time depletes that nutritional value below 85%, whereas if you dehydrate, it's 85% and above in terms of nutritional value. What happens is, though, when you dehydrate food, it can somewhat change its taste, and it's not that it's changing its taste. What's happening, and this is what I tried to explain to Tisha, as the food shrinks, those nutrients that your body needs condense and they come together, and then because they're so close together, you know, the molecules are coming together and they're attaching themselves or whatever they do, it's going to be a more pungent taste than what you would normally think of when you eat a zucchini. Doesn't mean that it's bad or that it doesn't have any nutritional value. It just means that it's been brought down to a condensed form where it alters the taste somewhat. So I'm just experimenting with this today before it's a decision as to whether it's going into the compost or whether I'm going to start using it, because I have those old Hiccup wine bottles. Hiccup? You know, the big ones. The big moonshine ones. Full of either shredded carrot from back in the day when I was doing this stuff, or zucchini, or red onions and onions. I still have dehydrated potatoes, that kind of stuff. So anyway, I'm going to take this and I'm just going to put it in that pot of water and stir it around, and I'm going to let it seep for the next several hours, and then I'm going to taste it. I'm going to put a lid on it so the heat stays inside, and then I'm going to taste it as I go along to see if I, want to use it, right? Maybe 2011 is too long ago. Maybe zucchini doesn't store as well as shredded carrots. The shredded carrots are perfectly fine, which I'll be using today. I'll show you. The zucchini, well, we'll wait and see. So that's what's happening there. As for those meats that I cooked up yesterday, I'm telling you, half of it was gone. I kind of figured that would happen, right? Because Tisha took some for her and her boyfriend and whatnot, because she's going to spend a day or two with him, right? And they can eat. So I asked if I could have the bone from that pork loin. Oh, no. I said, why? I said, you don't like sucking on bones. I said, what, Alex likes the bones? He goes, oh, yeah. So we're one short bone in the pot, people. That's like being short one button, but that's okay. So, and then, of course, my son, he came up and he looked at his plate. And you see, I didn't fill up his plate because I didn't know what he wanted. And, you know, I said to him, well, you know, if you want more, it's an Auntie Shmai's fridge. Just take it from there, right? Because, you know, I don't know if he wanted more ham or more pork or what he wanted, right? So he topped up probably with the ham, because we haven't had ham in the house for a very long time. So what's going to happen, because half of what I made yesterday, half of it's gone now. I'm going to cook up the other ham today after I'm done the juicing, right? And do the same thing, only this time that bone I'm going to give to the raccoons tonight, right? Because I've already got a pot of broth cooking. I don't need that bone, so I'm going to treat one of the raccoons anyway with a ham bone tonight, an apple, and their dog food, right? And slice it. I'm tired, people, but I'll get through it as long as I don't feel pressure to rush with these videos to have a troll come in and criticize me, right? And however, I do want to say thank you to I had to write it down. It's that goopy crap going on in my head. Lineman for the county. Look, for as long as you've been coming around my YouTube channel, what did I write? Country. Lineman for the country. Why am I putting you with the country versus with the county? And as soon as you said county, that tells me that you're an American. And you like to be considered a lineman, so I'm assuming you're a man. So we've got somebody who likes to cook in the kitchen with us, besides my son, because my son will cook too, right? I just wanted to say thank you to you for providing that link for the federal government for the petition. It definitely cleared up how many characters in terms of you're allowed 250 words, and they've got to be written in a specific way to a specific, you know, point. And thank God that I've got somebody going to check that after I write it, and then I'm going to forward it to them, and they're going to check it for me to make sure that I wrote it correctly. And then I'll submit that one to the federal government, because that's a really good idea. I don't know where it's going to take us, but I'll try anyway. And then, of course, I'm going to do the standard petition and have somebody check that, the same person, right? People, there's more than one person checking it over for me. And then just go with that. But before I do that, people, I have to feed my family, right? Mainly Amari. Like, we know why I'm doing this. It's mainly for Amari, so that I can, you know, have those convenient foods that are nutritional in value, that are specifically designed for him and his needs. And I just happened to come across some good stuff. So I'm going to start with the $8 with the cucumbers, right? And then I've got them in the sink ready to wash, and I'm going to start peeling them, getting them ready, get the juicer out. I'm going to do all the carrots, right, and get them ready. And any other vegetables I'll break up into batches so that you can see how it all just flows together. And then halfway through the day, probably around 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, as that's all coming to an end and starting to go into mason jars, right? Then I'm going to pull out that ham, and I'm going to get the ham back, and I'm going to do it exactly the same way that I did it yesterday, because it worked out really good. The only thing that I'm going to do, though, is add a little more hickory smoke right inside into the meat, and I'm going to get another jar of pineapples that I canned, right, from 2018, and I'm going to stuff them in between the meat with the garlic exactly the same way, with some gingers on the bottom, because it was so good, people, so good. And then that ham will be going as either TV dinners, whether it's for my son, whether it's for Andre, which reminds me, because I am doing TV dinners, I'm going to get up into this little cupboard. I've mentioned this before. I have the old school Ziploc, they're like plates, right? They're like a plate with a lid that you put your TV dinner on, and then you freeze them like that. You take them out. I recommend just putting it into a frying pan, heating it up that way, or putting it into a plate and putting them in the oven that way. Try to avoid the microwave if you can. And then I'm going to obviously make that for my son, right? Because, you know, he works really hard, and, you know, he fends for himself as best as he can. But I like to try and diversify his food, even though he gets on my nerves sometimes. But besides that point, I'm going to pull them out, and I'm going to show you those old Ziploc plates for freezing. So I'm going to make some of those, mainly for my son. That's who's on my mind. Okay, just please don't be a distraction, right? Just hold on. And then I've got these little containers that I've had in a container, which I'll be washing and getting them ready for Andre, mainly, right? And then, of course, Amari will be in that mix. And then Tisha's going to bring me some jars on Monday, which by that point in time, I'll be mostly done with everything. And then I'm just going to pull out the pressure canner, and I'm going to can this size for Amari with the ham and the broth. And some of it will be ham with broth, and some of it will be that beef that I'm going to grind up, really cook it, simmer it, you know, really well, so it's very soft. And then take broth, and I'm going to can just that with broth, maybe some carrots or something. We'll see how much I have left. It's not necessary, because taking out the jar with the beef, ground beef, it's not hamburger, people, it's real beef that's been ground by me, because it's more nutritional, and then stewing it for a long period of time with whatever you're going to, like celery would be good, right? And then canning it in a jar of broth is just, you don't know how well that works when it comes to making a meal with Amari, because you simply grab the one can, and I've said it before, this is pressure canned with the beef and the broth. This is frozen. You start this, bring it to a boil, turn it down, have it on a low boil for at least 10 minutes because it's canned, right, meat. But then at some point you add this in after it's unthawed, whether out on the counter or in the fridge, whichever, depending on what's inside. And you just put that beside, keep it in it. Oh, it's a meal for a king. Oh, Mari just gobbles it up. So, do you remember this corner? It's a lonely corner, people. This is the kitchen sink. Right? I've done lots of videos here. All by myself. Right? This is one of these situations where people take you for granted. Right? You either get stuck with the dishes all the time, and people just take it for granted that you'll do the dishes. And they don't care how you feel as long as the dishes get done. Over and over and over and over again. Right? Or you get stuck standing here for hours and hours and hours. Peeling, peeling, peeling. Washing, washing, and peeling, peeling, peeling. And preparing what you need to prepare for the things that you do. Now, the first thing I want to say about these cucumbers, people, like seriously, man, they are so good. Listen. That's how fresh they are. I feel so lucky. As a matter of fact, I think I'm going to start going back to this little food store more often. Because I am definitely impressed with those yams. Like, you don't know how impressed I am with those yams. Very impressed. And I am definitely impressed with these cucumbers in terms of them being discounted. Because they are so crunchy. Sure, there was a few of them that came in like that. They caught whatever, but this itself is like you can't get it any, almost like fresher, I guess you could say. So what I'm doing is I'm peeling where I don't want. I've decided to keep the skin on as much as I can. Obviously take off the ends. And then because raccoons like apples, I'm going to trick them tonight. I'm going to take an apple or two, depending on how many I use today, but definitely one. And I'm going to chop it up into little pieces. See, Andre had some here yesterday, or I don't know why this is like this, but I'll take this apple, I'll just cut it, right? And then what I'm going to do, I'll show you. And we'll find out. We'll find out tomorrow morning whether these raccoons eat these. Because if they eat them, better for them, right? Because otherwise it's just going in the compost. Now, I throw things in the compost, and they do get up in there and root around, but what they eat, I never really pay attention, you know. So, in this case, though, being that they told me that they like apples, they might like cucumbers too, because this is a nice little piece. Nothing wrong with it. Perfectly good for a raccoon. And, of course, maybe the rabbit, right? So that's what I'm doing in this corner. This is my lonely corner. This is what because I can stand here for hours and get no love. Right? This is what I talk about when I'm gone. That's when my kids will miss me. They'll miss this. These days, these good old days, when they come in and it's been done for them already. Right? But they'll always have my videos to watch if they don't know how to do it. If they want to learn because they miss this, whatever it is that I'm doing. Because Tisha does like how I'm processing Amari's food. She finds it very, very convenient and reassuring. Very convenient and very reassuring when she feeds Amari this stuff. Of course, she feels confident that if she had to, she could do it all by herself the way I do it. The only thing is, I don't think she'd have the stamina, people. Because you have to force stamina on yourself for this shit. Because this is a lonely corner. You'll be here for hours by yourself. And you'll get no love. I mean, Amari can't say thank you because he's just a baby. But when it comes to everything else that I do at the kitchen sink, you know, sometimes I'm taken for granted, right? But I guess that's what mothers are for. I don't know. I gave up a long time ago trying to figure out what mothers are for. Right. Almost done, and then I'm going to show you Like, I am so pleased. So pleased. You don't know how pleased I am. Like, these are like fresh off the vine in terms of discounted food. Like, they're really fresh. And those yams were in good shape too. Like, really in good shape. I mean, you can hear it. Listen. Right? That's what you want. And then I bought a little bag of the little cucumbers. I'm going to, after I'm near the end of whatever the rush part, after I'm done rushing, then I'm going to just take that little bag of cucumbers either tonight or tomorrow, and I'm going to start fermenting them. Hold on. Now, see? Look at that. Look at that, people. That is so good. Okay, so this is what I use. I like this one because this one's big. I have two smaller ones, similar thing. But for me, what I do for Amari, I like this. So zip-dee-dee-doo along. This is what I got. Now, I know it looks like, why she got all these little... Well, it's because I ended up using yesterday for the broth, right? The big one that I had. I do have bigger plastic ones up in my... pantry area over here, but it's so hard to get to because I don't have a proper porch. So everything kind of piles into that corner. I'm not going to worry about it because the carrots I'm going to be pasteurizing anyway, right? And then apples, well, I don't know. I'm not going to go into my pantry to dig out these things, right? I'm just going to make do with what I got right now. So basically what I've done, not that I know what I'm doing, but I just skimmed off the foam, which is just irrigated juice, people. That's all it is. It will settle after a while, right? So basically what I'm going to do is I'm taking all of this. I'm going to have to make some room in my fridge up here. And I'm putting it in the fridge for now so it stays nice and cold, nice and chilled. Because this is fresh. And it's really good. So those all juices are going in the fridge, including this, because this, as it settles, will create juice as the air bubbles, whatever. This is the pulp. Now, for anybody, other than Amari, I don't have to process this anymore. But for Amari, I do. Because Amari couldn't handle that. That could choke him and kill him. Right? So what I'm going to do, after I get these juices in the fridge, I'm not rushing with these videos, people. I'm going to get out that little slicer thing I have. And I'm just going to run this through. Andre, just please. Nana told you I'm tired. You wait till I'm done talking, then you can turn it up.
What?
Just turn it down while I'm talking because Nana's tired and my ears are like... So anyway, for cream cucumber soup, I'm going to run it through this little thing here before I put it into the fridge. But after I run it through this little thing, I'm going to take just one ice cube tray, just one, and I'm going to try it in terms of taking that pulp after I run it through this so that it's nice for Amari, and I'm going to just freeze one ice cube tray. And then after they're frozen, I'm going to take them out of the tray, put them in a bag, and leave it frozen. And then I'm going to try and incorporate those little ice cube cucumber blocks into his meals as just a little side dish to what he's eating, whether it's cooked or not. Because if it unthaws and it's, you don't necessarily have to cook it, right? We'll see what it unthaws like. Other than that, the rest, I'm going to attempt to make the cucumber soup today. Whatever I don't use on the trays, the rest will go to making a sample cucumber soup. Maybe cucumber and zucchini. Maybe. We'll see. We'll see how those things hydrate. We'll see how those little zucchini pieces hydrate and if I want to use them or not. Because only two things are going to happen. I'm either going to use them or the whole thing is going out into the compost and I've got a free Tupperware container to start fresh with something else. which I would recommend shredding carrots, dehydrating them, and putting them into storage, and then, like, seriously, they last forever. Okay, so now I'm going to put the... Oh, yes, I just wanted to mention this. Do you see this? This is for those yuppies. They like this kind of stuff. This is that chlorophyll... I don't know how to pronounce the word, but it's the green food. The super green food. That's what that is. This came from a health food store. Back in the past, you know, I tried to get into that juicing, but again, you go through a lot of vegetables, and you end up creating a lot of, if you were to throw this out, it would be a lot of wastage. Obviously, I'm not throwing out anything, right? So when you're juicing, this stuff starts to pile up pretty fast. So if you're not using it regularly, you'll end up getting too much, and it will end up in the compost. And so anyway, I'm going to try and put some of this into the end product before I throw them in the freezer. Now, because once you mix it, the last thing you want to do is take your jar out, unthaw it, add in a bit of that, and then go about. It's probably better if it's mixed in before you freeze it so that it's done and you don't have to worry about it. So I'm going to try and put in, I don't know how much. Don't really use this stuff, people. I don't, you know, again, I'm not really a juicer, but that's a superfood. So I'm going to try and put that into Amari's jars, well, into the whole juicing of what I'm doing today. And then I left a little bit for myself. You can see. Just to, as the carrots are coming in, well, apples, you're right. And then, you know, how much apple to how much cucumber do you want? How much carrot do you want in terms of the juice? I don't know. All I know is I have to make it tasty. So let's see what this tastes like just by itself. Straight up cucumber juice. Well, you know that it's a cucumber, but you can't really taste anything. It's not sweet, it's not sour, it's not bitter, but you can tell it's cucumber. And you can tell it's cucumber with the rind, which is fine. Right? So the cucumber juice itself is just the base to give you the volume, because I'm sure the apple will overpower the taste of the cucumber, right along with the carrot. Okay, so here's what's happening. I ran it through the little machine. It took a little while, but you can see it's good for Amari now. And as I fill up the trays, you know, but this is good because I've already went through it. I found that the skins didn't really go through. But what I'm going to attempt to do here now is I'm going to slice them into little pieces. Then I'm going to put them in here with a little bit of this liquid, so I can get more from the fridge. I'm going to run it through just to see what happens, because there's a fair amount, right? And if it doesn't go down into the consistency of where I want it, I'll just put it into the soup. And now that I know this, people, in terms of freezing cucumbers, and you know, when next year I'll make my landlady, she was like, where's all the cucumbers last year? I didn't really plant any cucumbers. It was a really, really, really bad growing season last year. Even she was having problems in her yard with things not growing because of the lousy weather, because of the chemtrails that they keep putting up there and bringing booms with their upside down rainbows, right, that bring rain and ice crystals into the sky. It's like really stupid what the government is doing out here. But anyway, now that I know I can do this, well, I don't know what I can do yet. I haven't done it yet. But in terms of the juice anyway, I'll see if I can make an extra effort to grow extra cucumbers. Because I didn't really grow that many because I already have jars of pickles and all that stuff, right? Last year it was more squash than anything else, right? And even then, a lot of beans, they didn't grow because of no sun. There was no sun. There was more rain, more cloudy days than there was sun. With upside down rainbows and booming in the neighborhood where it rattled your windows. That's what was going on. For whatever reason. But now that I know, I'll make an effort to try and maybe plant some extra cucumbers. Now, mind you, my landlady likes cucumbers, so I give her a fair amount, right? But I'll do like I did last year with the beans. That's your patch of beans and that's my patch of beans, right? So that whatever grows, you know, I can get them to the length that I want them for this specific reason, right? Because you can plant different kinds of cucumbers. Because I'm thinking maybe the skin is reacting this way because it was probably sprayed. But then I don't know because it had the plastic over it. I don't know if they spray them to kind of preserve them and then put the plastic on, or if they just put the plastic on for these types of cucumbers, right? Or if it's just the you know, the type of skin that it is for this particular type of cucumber. All I know is I really don't want to waste it, but my little thing here isn't necessarily grinding it up when I ground it up everything else. So as you can see one hand's okay, the other one's... So as you see, I'm putting it in here. I'm cutting these up so that this little blade can cut them a little better. And then if at first I'll try it without the liquid, and if it looks like it's not working, then I'll add a bit of liquid and continue doing it. And if I'm not satisfied with the texture after it's done into regards to amari, then I'll just throw it into the soup. And now that I've done this, I'm kind of motivated to plant extra cucumbers in the yard next year for this purpose. Just if everything goes good with it and I'm satisfied with the results and whatever's done, then for sure I'll plant extra cucumbers to do this again with cucumbers that are coming in from my yard, and I would continue to do it with discount food, assuming that the food is pretty fresh like I've gotten so far. Because this food's been good, so I'm going to tell my son that we need to go back to that particular little store once a week, and I need to talk to those people. Right? And tell them I want to call twice a week to find out what's on their shelves before I come. Because if it's anything that I want them to save it for me. And I'll come pick it up with my son. Or maybe Tisha can go and get it for me. Right? And then maybe my son might get interested in doing a little more like this for himself once the kitchen is all done. Which would be good for him, because he works really hard. And he likes vegetables, right? So I don't know if he drinks his food, because my kids didn't grow up drinking their food. But he might like a drink that's made from fruit and vegetables. I don't know. I won't know until I get more involved and say, here, try a glass. And I'm not at that point yet. So hold on. So yeah, I had to put a little bit of water in it. With the rind by itself, it doesn't move. But if I put a little bit of water in it, you can see it's running through the blade. But because it's really tough, it's not really cutting it. So in this case, I think what I'm going to do is just continue doing what I did there. Well, yeah, no, you see, When you're getting into pieces like that for a Mari, that's not good. So this I will cook, because by cooking it, what's going to happen? It's going to soften up, right? Now, if I plant my own cucumbers, then obviously I get control of the type of cucumber I'm planting. And, you know, for every cucumber that comes in, different strands have different types of skins. So, we're not... The game isn't over yet.
It's frozen.
Yeah, it's going to freeze every day. Leave it now. It has to unthaw.
The pond's frozen too.
The what?
The pond's frozen too.
Plants?
No, the pond.
The pond is frozen?
Yeah. I'm going to go try to get some ice out of it.
No, leave it. The water is coming up, right? You can see the water with the spout, right? Don't do that. Don't do that, because you disrupt the whole process of the whole pond, and then it freezes over completely and I have to turn on the pump. If you just leave it alone, it's going to get that ice crystal garden going, okay? Thank you.
Why do you want the ice crystal garden?
I like looking at it.
Oh.
So after we're done, I'll take you out to the pond and we'll go look at it. Sometimes I have to be firm with Andre and repeat myself quite firmly with him. Otherwise, he pushes the boundaries.
Okay.
And thank you for not arguing with me. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. I'm just going to go poke it.
Yeah, you can go look at it. Actually, after I'm done turning this off, you can come and get the camera and you can run out there and do a quick little video on it. So I don't have to go out right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just call me, okay?
Yeah, I will. So anyway, I'm going to, this video's getting long, eh? I'm going to, see, you don't even need to run it through the machine now that you're going to cook it. You just need to cut it into little pieces and get it ready for the pot. So that's what I'm going to do here. And now that I know what I'm doing a little more, I will, like the, you know, those, pickling cucumbers would probably be good for their skin to be run through this little process, but not the other ones with the more of a waxy skin. But as this cooks in the water, it will soften. Here, let's go outside quickly and go see what Andre's talking about. Yeah, if you wonder why I have to be firm with him, why is she curt with him like that? It's because when Andre came back home from foster care, everything was a butt and always turned into a huge argument. And unfortunately, it's still like that with him today. He's getting better. It drives Tisha nuts. She finds it to be very disrespectful. You know, right? I mean, he is responding to me better, but oftentimes I have to be very curt and to the point with him. And, you know, and even then, he'll take it for 10 miles if he can, right? You know, I try and get him to stop and think, right? So, because if I wouldn't have been firm with him, and if he would have seen that window of opportunity to bring in the butt and start arguing with me over that pond and the pump and the ice, it would have been on for until I would have had to raise my voice to him. So he's getting better. He's just going to be very strong-willed when he's older. That's all. It's either going to work in his favor or it's not going to work in his favor. If he grows up to be a cop, his strong will be in his favor. Right? Because, you know, there is no buts with cops sometimes, right? No matter what you say, it's not a but. So in that case, it would work in his favor. But, you know, if he was on the job site doing rebar and he wanted to start to argue with his boss about how it should be carried and put into a pile, he'll get fired. Because his boss will be like, you either do your fucking job and shut up, or you're fired. And Andre would be, but, you know, really, but. And then when he walks away after he got fired, he won't understand why he got fired, because he can't understand that but is the beginning of an argument. Because he hasn't really distinguished what an argument is, or what leads up to an argument, because he's so determined to be right and to know everything. or to have it his own way. But it's more like to be right and to know everything. He knows everything, right? I don't know. He's been like that ever since he came home. I mean, some of it resorts to, you know, having control in his life when he lost complete control when he was in foster care. So, a little bit of psychological damage there, right? So instead of me punishing him for it, I try and just, well, obviously be firm and, you know, compensate for things. So let me turn this off and then we'll go look at this pond. Hold on. Okay, so now we're out here. You can see everything's frosty. Mr. Frosty's coming.
Yeah.
Look how frosty. I didn't get my potatoes in.
Now.
Why is there a spoon there? Digging in the ground with the spoon. Okay, yeah, no, leave it.
I know.
I'm going to move that. I don't want to do it right now. I'll come out later. It just needs to be, no, because I'm going to have to place another rock in there so that the water gets that ice garden. Yeah. So just leave it.
Skya. Oh,
okay. So just leave it. And then after this water bottle defrosts, you can bring it back out.
He's over there.
Where?
Over here, you know?
He's got it pretty
side.
cool in there. Tisha, put some more hay in. Oh, you bouncing around? You happy rabbit? Oh, I want to bring you in. Yeah.
It's cold actually today.
No, he's not. He's a rabbit. He's got rabbit fur. Okay, he wants cucumber. Do you smell the cucumber? Okay, go. You come give him some cucumber.
Oh, okay. Okay, people. So you see what I'm doing? I'm gonna feed the rabbit. Closer. So I'm gonna feed the rabbit right now. And that's what I'm gonna do. Just right now. You see? I'm gonna feed him now. See him? Okay. Here you go, boy. Oops. Dropped it. There you go. Go like, yeah. Yeah, give me that stuff. Give me some of it. Yum, 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 yum. See him? And you see, I'm gonna put some over here now, just in case if you might want some. Here you go, Pumpkin. There you go. Got some food now. Now let's get some to the raccoons in the back. So you see, we're gonna get some to the raccoons now. I don't know where to put it, but it doesn't know where to put this, so I have to put it in the back. I'll be right back. Bye.
Okay, so that's all I'm going to try as a tester for freezing the cucumber, right? This I'm going to now start in a pot with onions and butter. And I'm going to start frying this for soup. This is what I've got left over, I guess, for soup. I guess. I don't know what to do with it. Read a recipe book and they'll tell you to throw it out, but I'm not going to throw it out. That was another reason why when my kids were younger, I didn't do a lot of juicing because, you know, I don't want to throw out food. Right? Plus, just the cost of vegetables when you juice is very, very expensive. Starts to add up. And then this foam, I'll just put into the pot, right? Because I got enough juice in the fridge, right? I'll just have that to start with cucumber soup. I don't know what kind of soup we're going to get. Okay, so the purpose of the exercise is to use up the food that I bought in these discount bags. This beautiful white onion was in one of those bags. So what I'm going to do, because white onions tend to be a little sweeter, right? I'm going to slice this up into little pieces, and I'm going to use the whole onion, okay? And I'm going to start sauteing the onion and the rinds, right? With probably at least a half a cup of butter. That's how we're going to start. Hold on. Okay, so you've seen that big onion. That's how much I've used so far. So I chopped it up real fine. And I'm going to start sauteing it with that. And I like celery, so that's how much celery I'm going to put in there. Right? This one, maybe I'll put that one in there as well. Right? And then this was $1 for cilantro. I didn't buy it for me because I personally don't like cilantro. Now, whether I use a little bit in the soup, I don't know. I offered it to my son, but he said, oh, you know, I already bought some yesterday, so he doesn't need it. I offered to freeze it, and maybe he can eat it later, and he said, it's not worth it. But either or, I'm either going to maybe put a little bit in the soup, or maybe I'll attempt to freeze some, just see what happens. And I think Tisha eats cilantro, so I'll give that to maybe to Tisha. And then this was another bag for $1.50. My son took one, and I have one. So I still have this to work with for today. So what's going to happen here, because this video is probably already getting long, right? So I think what I should do is make it into 2 parts. It's only 11:30 in the morning, people. So I've got a long way to go yet. My son came up, he said, there's a ham on the, over here, Mom. And I'm like, yeah. Where am I? I said, yeah. I'm going to cook it, but I have to take it out of the fridge so I could put the juice in there and keep it nice and cold, right? So at least we're going to start with that's almost a half a cup of butter. So we're going to start cooking it like that first on about 4 to get it started. We're going to take that and put that in there. So I'm starting with the onions first. Onions, celery, and the cucumber first. And I'm going to saute it on low because we're using butter. We don't want to burn the butter. Right? If you need to add more butter, that's okay. You add more butter because you're just making a soup anyway. So yeah, probably cut this up so it doesn't go to waste, because they're getting, you know, it's one of those button soup situations. Go in your fridge and find what you have. Right. I'll probably end up using coconut. So maybe what I should do is, I don't know. I don't know if I should be stopping the video now, start converting. The only problem is my computer's maxed out again. And I don't have time to sit there and start moving files and putting them into my external hard drive just to make room. But I might have to. I'm going to have to get this thing reformatted soon because it's so annoying. Right? It's like running on 12 gigabytes. That's all that's left. And so whatever it processes, whatever it does, even though I'm using the other drive, it's still being sucked up C drive. I'm going to be having no drive pretty soon. Right? But I think I would like to, what do you call it, make this into 2 parts, because I haven't even gotten into the carrots or the apples yet. Right? Obviously, I'm going to be doing this tomorrow. I've already talked to my son. I told him I'm going to come downstairs and I'm going to be doing the TV dinners downstairs, because the majority of the food will be downstairs. It's already going down into Shemai's fridge, right? It's gone into Shemai's fridge. Shemai has her own fridge. Auntie Shemai's room, right? So, it's still all pretty much prep work today, for the most part. Like, I'm going to boil, and eventually I'm going to boil. Yeah, I'm going to end it on this, people, and then we're going to come back with round 2, right? I'm going to boil a big pot of, what do you call it? Macaroni. Maybe more than one. I don't know. Something. And then I'm going to get that prepared to make macaroni with, right? So that you have your starch. And then, of course, we've got potatoes here that I will show you as we go, that I may end up cooking and getting them ready. Because, you know, you want a variety on your TV dinners. So some TV dinners will have macaroni with cheese so that when you bake it in the oven, you know it's just going to cook, right? Like it will be cooked, but it will unthaw and then you cook it right through and it's really, really good, right? Where other TV dinners might have mashed potatoes with gravy, right? So, because I'm using up, I didn't buy this food because I needed it, people. I bought it because I wanted to do what I'm doing, basically centered around Amari's needs, as everybody else benefits from the fringe benefits of it, right? So I may even put these at the very tail end of the cucumber soup. I'm not sure yet. And I don't know what kind of cucumber soup I'm making, but I'm making something. So I'm going to end this video on here, and then I'm going to come back, and if you're really interested in watching this process, you can just go into part 2. So right now, currently, I got it at 4. I'm going to probably have to put a bit more butter in there. Or maybe what I'll do is I'll just stop the video and then just finish this part. And once I get the soup starting to cook, you'll see, then I'll stop the video, go convert, and then start fresh with round 2. Hold on. Okay, so I added some water in there because it was just lots. So in order for it to not burn on the bottom with the butter, even on a saute, it was just better to add the water in there. So what I've done is I've turned up the heat now, right? And I'm going to start bringing it to a boil. But I'm also going to throw in, I don't know what kind of cucumber soup I'm making. But anyway, I'm throwing in 3 cloves of garlic. Just regular run-of-the-mill, right? This was from my garden. I didn't even plant parsley this year, and for some reason I got that growing in my yard. But anyway, I'll just chop that up and put that in there. And then this is like a different kind of spinach that I grew a couple years ago that somehow reseeded itself out there. So before it got frosted over, I cut them and I brought them in. And this has like been sitting in my fridge in a little bag for like 2 weeks, people. So it just shows you, like, when you grow your own food, right? I'm sure if I would have bought that from a grocery store, it probably would have spoiled by now. So anyway, I have a little bit of that from the 1 or 2 plants that I had outside. So I'm going to chop that up, put that in there. And then this is some old school rice from, obviously, food storage. I cooked it up a few days ago to see if it had gone rancid because of the type of grains. And it hasn't. So this is good. I'm eating it. Trust me, it's good. So I will do something with that today as well. I might even grind it up, to be honest with you. Maybe I'll run it through that little machine. And I'll turn this into a paste. And instead of using flour as a thickener, maybe I'll use that as a thickener because I want to make this kind of creamy, right? Use a can of coconut milk. And if I can turn this, right, into a paste, use that as a thickener for my so-called cucumber soup, right? Hold on. Okay, so the yam broth with the bones, right, from what I cooked yesterday, I'm using that specifically for the ham that I'm going to be pressure canning for Amari, okay? I'm not touching that, people. It's in there. It's doing good. I'll show you later. So I'm using water, whatever I'm putting in there, and with what I've got, the onions, the celery, and the cucumber right now with the butter and a little bit of parsley and the 3 pieces of garlic and about a teaspoon or so or more of salt. I'm going to take this now and I'm going to put that in there, and I'm probably going to do 2 of them. I've only opened up 1 for now, right? And right now I'm just really sauteing the onions and the celery and that type of thing, right? Because I'm going to make this more than likely creamy. And I'm probably going to end up using a can of coconut milk with it. Everything's always so low. Oh my gosh. Right? I'll probably end up using a can of coconut milk with it, and I'll probably end up grinding up this rice. I'm going to try. I'm going to try one little thing anyway, see what I get out of it. And maybe use that as a thickener, right, after it's all said and done. So again, I don't know what kind of cucumber soup that we're making here, but the point is waste not, want not, and we're not wasting anything right now, so we're using it all to our advantage. Eventually, I'll have to take the bullet to it after it cools down, right? After it cools down, to really make it nice, but for now, this is just how I'm starting it. I'm going to let that cook like that on 6. Just give it a real good cook. And then I'm going to, what do you call it? Add water and fill up the pot. And then that's when I'll add in the puree. Well, here, I can put this in there now. I'm going to put this in there. That's that foam. Remember? Mostly. I'll put that in there now. As it boils, the foam will boil off. It will boil off the air bubbles. Right? Because once we get it stewing, simmering, or whatever you call it, then I can get on with juicing carrots and whatnot, right? I told you 2 to 3 days. It's going to take at least 3 days. Tomorrow it will be another full day. And then, of course, Monday I'll be canning with the pressure canner. So 3.5, 4 days. This by itself is actually quite tasty. You could put that on the rice. That's delicious. I like it. Okay, so what should I do? Should I stop when the pot is full? Is that what I should be doing? And I'm going to put this in there, and then I'm going to top it off with some water. Right? And then I'm going to put it on the back burner after my water's boiled here for a coffee. And I'm just going to simmer it for the day, almost. Right? I don't know what we've got now. We've got something green. Something green in there, people. This is what it looks like now. I don't know. It has very unique taste. It's quite good. I can't pinpoint the taste I want to tell you, but it's good. In this case, you're going to have to turn it down because it's scorching. I can hear it. I mean, you could use that as a dip. You don't even have to use it as a soup. Right? That's quite good, really. I wasn't planning on making that, but the next time I juice something, it would be good. You seen that, right? Big bowl of water. It would be good to have it as a dip or a side dish to rice or something. Okay, so I like the taste of it. I'm not going to smother it with any other vegetables. You can see I'm filling up the pot now. After I'm done this, and I get it to where I want it now, simmer it, I'm going to show you that, and then I'm going to go and convert this video over, and then we're going to go into round 2. Let me clean up my cupboards. Let me grind up my rice. Let me try that later on. Let me do the carrots and get the ham in the oven. And, you know, I'll show you the containers I have. Blah, blah, blah. We'll bring out the old Ziploc. The old Ziploc TV dinners, which they don't make anymore. And honestly, when they stopped making them, I thought that was kind of not right. And because we want to make a full pot, because we're freezing it, what you want to do is you want to simmer it down a bit, right? So give it, pretty much fill it up to the top, right? And then bring it to a boil once you're done doing that. And then once it boils, then you bring it back down, put it on the back burner, keep stirring it throughout the day, and you just simmer it. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to add just a bit more. Burners, when they're on, give off, you know, aerosols because of the metal and things burning in the trays. And it's hard on me, you know. So anyway, that's okay. It's just life, right? I don't have a fan. You would never hear me if my fan was running all the time. Could you imagine if I did videos with my fan running all the time? I don't like fans in the background. So there. Now, I'm going to show you what the consistency is like. I'm going to taste it. I already showed you everything that I've put in it so far. Since I put the water in, it's much milder. So, because it's such a big pot, you can see, I'll probably put in one more of these because I like these, right? And I'm just going to put it on the back burner and let it cook for a little while. I'm not going to give it any pepper or nothing. I'm not going to give it any extra salt at this point. I'm just going to cook it down for a while, right? And then the coconut will go in there, milk, as well as I'm going to see if I can use this after I maybe turn it into a paste of some kind as a thickener. So hold on a minute. Okay, so this is where we're at. Obviously, I haven't converted over the video yet. I'm still bringing this up to boil, but because this pot here has no second level in terms of, you know, when you put it on a burner, it's just straight up flat. It doesn't have a very heavy bottom, right? So you got to be careful that you don't burn it. Use a straight spoon and make sure you keep stirring it around so it doesn't stick to the bottom and burn, because you don't want to burn your soup. So I've got it back up on max. I had it on 8. It's been taking forever, but you can see it's full. Now what I've done, when I cook this, people, obviously I didn't overcook it, right? It can actually cook a little longer. So anyway, I took it through that little grinder thing that I had with a little bit of water. This is what I got. Obviously, it doesn't match the color of what I've got, but you know, it's not about a fashion show right now. It's about, if I put this in the pot now and let it cook for the next several hours, what's going to end up happening is this is going to disintegrate even more, and it's just going to incorporate into the soup and thicken it up as a natural thickening agent. And because it's so mild tasting, but it has a nutty flavor, it's going to go well with this in combination with some coconut milk. Tisha likes this stuff. So anyway, here you can see 2014. Now before I open the can and just dip it in there, I'd open the can and I would pour it into a separate bowl and take a good look at the can on the inside to make sure everything's okay. I mean, nothing's bulging, right? So it should be fine, but just to be sure, right? And then if it looks like the can is fine on the inside, then I'm putting it in there, right? But I think what I'm going to do, because this is, it could require more cooking, right? And I'm not trying to have rice per se in there other than maybe to thicken it up. And since I've made it, why not use it? right? So this here, because initially this was food storage from way back in the day when Uncle John was around. And because you can see the type of grains that it is, I was concerned that maybe the rice went rancid, but it didn't, because it's good. It tastes really good. Now I tasted this. I'm not happy with this. It wasn't what I was expecting. I don't know what I was expecting. But in terms of nutrients, I'm sure it's perfectly good, right? It's just, it started off with yam, and a big pot at that. So obviously it's the yam that's throwing it off, in my opinion. Or maybe I'm getting an aftertaste from the rice. I'm not sure. No. I like the rice better than I like this, but this is not to say that this isn't good. It's just not what I was expecting. So, and it's just going to be broth, basically, people, for the beef and the ham. That's it. When I pressure can the meats for amari, that's all it's meant for. I don't think boiling the yam and using the juice in part for a broth is wrong. If anything, you would think that the vitamins in the yam that were boiled out into the water would be in the water. So this is where you have to experiment. You know, I have a couple of more of these types of things around the house. I never use these things, but maybe this is a good time to use it. This one was, they say, July 2018. So why don't we open it up? And let's just see what it tastes like. And then we'll put it into, like, even their little caps. I don't know. Doesn't smell like anything. See, I don't like this stuff. And because these caps aren't very secure, and I don't even know. Like, it didn't take hardly anything to open it. I didn't like that, people. See? I have another one here. I don't know. What's the date on this one? February of 2018. Okay, always check your little caps, because on these things, they appear to open up really easy. And it, you know, see? Hardly no effort to open it. Now, hold on a minute. What did I do? Hold on. See, I don't use these things. Every now and then, they get into my house. I don't know why. If I go to the food bank, which I haven't done for a very, 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 very long time, sometimes they come in that way. Okay, this one I just opened, right? I'm comparing the colors. Well, I guess they look the same. I'm suspicious, people. Probably wondering what I'm suspicious about. Well, I don't know. I mean, it's okay to throw in that pot. They look about the same. One is darker than the other. See, this one's lighter, this one's darker. Not by much. So anyway, I'm going to throw this in there, and then I'm going to have to work with that. Ooh, see, now we're starting to bubble up in here. Do you see that? So this is when you want to be stirring on the bottom and catch it before it overboils, because it's going to bubble up like as if you were cooking a jam, right? Those bubbles are going to take a while to boil off. But I'm not going to be boiling like a jam. I just need to bring it to a boil and then turn it down, and then I'm going to throw in that rice paste as a natural thickener, and then let that cook, because that will soften up the rice even more. And then towards the end, then I'll put in the coconut milk with whatever flavor in terms of salt, paprika. Well, paprika you put in the bowl after you put your soup in the bowl, then you sprinkle your paprika on top, right? But any touch-ups when it comes to salt or something like that, I'll do after I've done near the very end. So, in terms of this broth, these things are just taking up space in my house. So I'm just going to put it in there and see what it does to it. Now, mind you, there is no salt in there either. So I'm going to put a tablespoon first, and then a half a teaspoon as I go between taste testing, and maybe some pepper. I don't know. We'll see. Okay, this is the last one for sure for this part one. There's my tablespoon of salt. If you're wondering why I get like a little concerned, right, about specifically those types of containers, I mean through hold on. Through my back is starting to get sore. Through you know, my travels with home canning, right? We know that a jar can pop, reseal itself, but you just gotta catch the little buggers. If it pops, like if a jar pops, it has meat inside, and it reseals itself, whatever bacteria is in there will start to discolor. That's why if you come across a jar where the food is like really discolored, meat, right? Not browning of a vegetable because, you know, air or whatever, light. Well, not air, but light. And just, you know, food being canned for a while. But if a jar popped and resealed it, because I know this from when I did corned beef, a couple of jars, I don't know, did something, and the corned beef changed color in the actual jar. Even when I cooked up the corned beef, though, to, you know, prepare it for garbage in the event it may have had something, it still smelled good, but just with the simple fact that it had discolored compared to the other jars told me not to eat it, right? And I just walked you through a video with home canning. So, if it's happening to home canners, it's happening in the grocery store. In other words, what I'm trying to say, you know, you're buying, you grab a jar, you're buying it, right? Thinking it's been processed properly. And it probably has been. But there's always that oddball in there that you just never know. And when you come into containers like that, you know how people are, man. You know, they're coming and, you know, they're doing and they're, you know, how do we know that somebody didn't open that cap? Or even in the house, you know, open that cap and then screwed it back on and left it there. And, you know, and then I come along and not realize, right, that it opened up too easy. Right? It's not supposed to be that easy. You know, what if that lid, I'm not going to use that first one that I opened. I don't even use that stuff, so, It's not even, I don't even know where it came from, honestly. You know, maybe one of them were schmace or something from the food bank. I don't know. Because I never buy those things. And if I did, it was only one time and I forgot about them. So I just wanted to say that. What does it taste like? Well, it kind of tastes like cucumber. Still, with everything that I've put in there, the cucumber is retaining its taste. It's a cross vegetable. It's kind of addicting. You could eat that one cold if you wanted to. Or warmed up. But we're not done yet. We still have this and the rice, right? And maybe some pepper, salt or something. Okay, I really need to upload this now. It's probably an hour and a half long video.